Blazers take it to the wire against the Golden State Warriors last night. And for more on that game, we now welcome in Trailblazers assistant coach David Vanderpool. And Coach, I want to get your thoughts on just your impression from last night's game, the team's performance, especially coming back from that deficit in the second quarter to make it a real close game.
Well, I thought that we showed some fight and really competed, and that's obviously always important, especially going against a tough team like Golden State. But ultimately, we'd like to start better. We did fight back and gave ourselves a chance to win, and most of the time, that's all you can ask for.
I want to talk to you about the new starting lineup with Dame, CJ, Evan Turner, and I think the stat that we had on one of our shows was prior to Evan Turner being a starter with Dame and CJ, there was something like 120 minutes combined on the entire season. Those three were on the court, and now we're getting a much heavier dose of that. What is it about those three playing together that has been so effective for you guys recently?
Well, I think, first of all, having another facilitator, another playmaker on the court has helped Dame and CJ, especially offensively. But on the flip side of that, defensively, Evan has done a phenomenal job just being that third guy that really exerts himself and expends a lot of his energy defensively. He gives the guys that he's guarding a lot of trouble individually. He's a great help defender and very physical and imposing person. So I think that he's helped those guys tremendously on both ends of the court by just using his skill set, to the best of his ability, and the fact that he's so different of a player than the other guys that he's on the court with. It just adds two things.
And Coach, we had Terry Stotts on not too long ago, and he talked about with a young team, it sometimes takes time for them to get experience on the defensive side of the court, and we've seen experience pay off for this group. The past 15 games, it's been a top 10 defense in the NBA. From your perspective, what has been the biggest shift in this team defensively as to their current success? Well,
initially, having a very important piece to that defense, an injured player, and Al-Farouq Aminu come back has been a big factor. And I think anybody that looks to when he returned from injury, as a matter of fact, we've been, I believe, a top 10 defense since that happened. And he's been a great piece, but just as a whole, our team is truly the sum of parts, and it's not a situation where, we're dominant and dominated, especially on the defensive end, by one player. So when you have one of those pieces and one of those parts go down, it becomes so much more of an importance, especially for our team. And we need really all of our parts to be able to function to the maximum of our ability. Obviously you would like guys to step up into that role, but being the second youngest team or one of the youngest teams in the entire NBA, it's always going to take time for guys to understand certain things and nuances, especially when it comes to the defensive end of the floor.
Coach, talking about the defense and being connected on the defensive end, one of the things that I've noticed over the last couple of games is you guys seem to be a lot more comfortable when you're in rotation, whether you're stunting and getting back, whether you're doubling and rotating out. There just seems to be an increased level of energy, confidence, and trust in one another in those situations.
Well, in all honesty, we truly don't like to have to rotate too much. A lot of times when you see guys rotating in the situations, it's more of a covering for their teammates. And when it's put into that realm and that frame of mind, it becomes like a I got your back, you got my back type of situation. And I think our guys are really comfortable in that sense, in the sense that, they really care for each other and they really want to be there for their teammates. So, when you put it into that frame of mind, and, maybe when a guy drives to the basket, you see one guy rotate over to make sure he's covering for his teammate who may have made a small defensive mistake.
And, that tends to carry on the other end, too, though. When you got that I have your back on the defensive end and defense gets you out in the open court and you share the ball, you end up with a lot of assists. But in this Golden State game, it appeared that Golden State was committed to running you guys off the three-point line, and you guys responded with 60 points in the paint. And I don't know if that's the season high, but it's got to be close. That's an impressive number.
Yeah, well, Golden State they have the number one ranked defense in the NBA, and their three-point defense has been phenomenal and something that they've wanted to improve upon as far as keeping guys off of that line, especially because they love to shoot three-pointers and they know how effective it's been for them. But they did a really good job limiting us in that area and making sure that our main shooters get clean looks at the basket. And I think our guys are very versatile in that. Obviously they can shoot from outside, but that's not all that they kind of fall in love with. They'll take whatever the defense will present. And fortunately for us, we had an opportunity to get to the basket, and they don't have maybe the same type of traditional rim protector. Kevin Durant, I believe, leads them in blocks, but and collectively they come around. Draymond Green's always around the rim, but our guys are fearless, and they'll go inside and finish around the rim.
What is it about close games in the NBA that you guys have been trying to focus on? Because 3 out of the last 4 games you guys have won, they've been close victories that you've been able to pull out. Is there something that you're reminding the team of in those huddles and late game situations, or what is it that teams really need to key in on?
Well, first of all, we would love to take care of business early and not have a close game. But,
of course.
But, when you get into that situation, ultimately you want all of the players on the court to understand time and score. And having possession of the ball is very, very important, making sure that we get good possessions each time down the court offensively and put the opponent in a very tough spot defensively, being solid defensively. When you get into those crucial moments, again, having possession of the ball is important, so you don't want to have turnovers. You don't want to give teams extra opportunities with offensive rebounds and things like that. So you need to make sure we secure possession of the basketball and keep possession of the basketball so that we can get quality offensive possessions. And then on the flip side, again, defensively, you want to be as solid as possible, staying true to whatever defensive assignments we have, not taking gambles for steals, not trying to be slick in some situation and cause us a quick mix-up and giving them an easy basket. So once you get down to those tight situations, I think the most solid teams are the ones that end up pulling away or end up coming out on the better end of the thing.
Coach, the All-Star Game is coming up, and of course we're aware of Damian CJ not making the team this year, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that, and just curious if you've ever seen 2 players play at such a high level and not make the All-Star, and does that say something about how much talent there is in the NBA right now, or is there maybe an adjustment to increasing the size of these All-Star rosters because there's so much talent?
It's All-Star games can become, a bit of a situation where people sometimes you get people, you get the incumbent. It's just like any election. You get the guy that's always there, and whether he's playing at All-Star level that season or not, he's always pretty much going to be an All-Star. And at times that can be frustrating. At times you get guys that are consistently the guy that's on the snub list, and Damian has been a part of that, I guess, for years and years and years. Most interesting to me, I guess, especially for CJ and Dame, but Damian I think more so than anyone, is what he has done over the course of just his career and including this season. Where his numbers are up. He's done a tremendous job with the team that people had different expectations this season than last season, but again, last season we were, I believe, 500 or close to 500 at the All-Star break, and Damian was putting up, incredible numbers with a team that was not considered to be any team contention for playoffs coming in, and he still was not an immediate All-Star. He had to be an alternate. So, it just leaves the question what people look for when they decide on those things, and you can't control those things. Again, back to just Damian being one of the only players, as a matter of fact, to have the amount of points that he's had. Was it 8,000 points he eclipsed last game? 8,000 points and 2,000 assists. I think it's only 2 other guys that have done that, and he's on another list with 9 other players, and 8 of them are Hall of Famers. So, for a guy like him that has continued to be very consistent every single season and pretty much show what his worth is, I think really for him it's more important that the people here in Portland and the people that support him recognize that he gives his all every night, whether the masses pick him to be an All-Star or not. It's really it becomes somewhat irrelevant because you can't control those things.
All right, well, Coach, thank you so much for taking some time to join us. Best of luck tomorrow against Charlotte, and we'll hope that these games are no longer close. You guys can certainly take care of business early on.